Hello my dear students, welcome to Pen and Paper Chemistry on YouTube. आप सब कैसे हो? How are you all doing? I hope you are taking good care of yourself and not getting lost in just completing the syllabus. Please enjoy your learning journey. In today's video, we are going to continue our learning about electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions. In case you have missed it, in the previous video, we have already covered the nitration of phenols in complete detail as well as sulfonation. So please make sure, in case you've missed it, go through the previous video because there's a lot of detail that I have covered, including intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bonding. This flow chart is really helpful and it's going to help you understand, learn, and recall properties of substances. Today, we shall be talking about the process of halogenation and Friedel-Crafts alkylation. Halogenation means a replacement of the hydrogen atom of the benzene ring by a halogen. And we are going to specifically talk about chlorination or bromination. How can we bring about chlorination or bromination of phenols? This can be done in two ways. As you can see very clearly with the help of this flow diagram, the understanding and the process becomes quite easy. When we say the reaction taking place in a polar solvent, that means chlorine water or bromine water. So first we are going to write the reactions with chlorine water and then we will go on to bromine. Polar solvent, that means water. Water is a polar solvent. We can carry out halogenation, that is chlorination, using a non-polar solvent as well. For example, taking chlorine and carbon disulfide, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, all at low temperature of around 0 degrees Celsius. So if you have the flow chart with you, you can actually use this flow chart to write the products of this reaction. And if you do not have, I have already shared this flowchart in a previous video. Please make a little effort and go through it and write the products of the reaction. I am also sharing a part of the flowchart with you. We shall also discuss why this difference in behavior of phenol under the two reagents. So in the case of polar solvent, what will happen is we are going to get a tri-substituted product. So here we will get 2,4,6 trichlorophenol, OH. So this is position number 1, position number 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That means at position number 2 I'll get a chlorine, at position number 4 there will be a chlorine, and at position number 6 there will be a chlorine. So this gives us 2,4,6 trichlorophenol. On the other hand, when you carry out the same reaction, that is halogenation, but using a non-polar solvent, there we get only a monohalogenated product. That means substitution of the halogen will take place at the second position with respect to OH, or it will take place at the fourth position with respect to OH. What will be the name of these products? So 1, 2, so we get here 2-chlorophenol. Similarly, can you name this product for me, please? What is the other name for this product? Yes, it is also known as orthochlorophenol. So what will be the name of this product? Parachlorophenol. Now, why this difference in behavior? Also, interestingly, even out of ortho and para, usually it is para which is the major product. Why? Look at the distance between OH and chlorine. They are so close to each other. Whereas OH and Cl are having all the space in the world to themselves. They are happy to have a full space around themselves. So in other words, here there's a lot of steric hindrance. So they do not like to come close to each other, and they like to stay away from each other as much as possible. Why this difference in behavior? There you go. In the case of polar solvents, what happens is there's ionization of phenol, which will give us the phenoxide ion. Now, phenoxide ion means what are the positions which will become electron rich? Ortho, the two ortho positions, and the para position with respect to OH group. Now, because these positions have been overly excited, they call the chlorine, come, we can provide you the electrons. And don't forget, in this reaction, our Cl is behaving as an electrophile, hungry for electrons. Whereas in the case of non-polar solvents, this ionization does not take place to a great extent for phenol. So yes, our ortho or the para positions, yes, they do get excited, they do have electrons. But what about the chlorine? You see, there are not many chlorine which are ionized because of the non-polar solvent. So here our polar solvent is supporting phenol as well as generating more of chloronium ions. Whereas in a non-polar solvent, no, it's okay. We're going to take one chlorine at a time. Now, what is your task? Replace the chlorine by bromine in these equations. Go ahead. Now, you have to write the same reaction, exactly same reaction, but instead of Cl2, you have Br2. What will be the products and what will be the name of the products? Please write down the products here. Go ahead. Well done. We are doing it together. In fact, while making these videos, even I am learning a lot of things. So thanks to all of you for all the encouragement and your lovely comments. Written the products? Okay. So how am I going to name this as? So there's a bromine, there's a bromine. Oh, by the way, don't rub this out from your registers, the reaction with Cl. Yes, you're going to write it as a separate reaction, right? And what am I going to name it as? Yes, it will no longer be chloro. What will it be? It will be bromophenol. Now, interestingly, although I'm not sure how many of us have been able to go to the laboratory, but you will do this experiment in the laboratory and you will notice that this 2,4,6-tribromophenol actually gets deposited as a white precipitate, and this particular reaction can now be used as a test for phenols. So please make sure that where you have made the flow chart, you add this to your flow chart, and that is what makes your flow chart complete. Yes, I have also shown it in the flow chart, and that is the complete beauty of these flow charts, which have been designed keeping the students in mind. I have completed the names of the products. In case anybody has missed out, you may want to note it down, or you may also want to check your answers. Please go ahead. We now come to Friedel-Crafts reaction, and we are going to talk about alkylation reaction over here. If you remember, we had done in the case of benzene, chlorobenzene. So Friedel-Crafts reaction is reaction with an alkyl halide in the presence of anhydrous AlCl3. This reaction entails the liberation of CH3 positive, that is the alkyl cation over here, right? Alkyl as a carbocation. Interestingly, what happens, we know that phenol is rich in electrons. Aluminium chloride, on the other hand, is a Lewis acid. That means an electron acceptor. A for acid, A for acceptor. So my easy way of remembering so that I don't get confused. So Lewis acid is an electron acceptor. This is how I remember. So one is ready to give electrons, the other is wanting electrons. So what happens is aluminium chloride, instead of choosing to combine with the alkyl halides, rushes towards the phenols in order to grab the opportunity. Now you must be wondering, how is aluminium chloride poor in electrons? Why is it a Lewis acid? Let's go to the atomic number of aluminium, 13. What do we get from the atomic number? Obviously, we are able to write the electronic configuration. We also know that chlorine is highly electronegative, so it causes the electrons from the 3s orbital to unpair and jump to p. So the configuration now that I have is 3s1, 3p2. Next, this aluminium forms bonds with the 3-chlorine. Should be happy, right? All its electrons are paired up. No, but this fellow has a vacant orbital into which it can accommodate a pair of electrons. And where does it see those electrons? Yes, of course. In the case of phenol, it knows that oxygen is electron rich. So our aluminium chloride actually goes and forms a complex with the OH group in the case of phenols. I can draw it something like, so if I know it is forming a complex with the OH group, so aluminium gaining electrons, it would be something like this, right? Now, because it is forming a complex with the O atom of the phenol, what will happen? Are the electrons in the case of oxygen available to form the bond or to undergo resonance with the benzene ring? No, boss, they are not, right? So does our benzene ring remain activated as we have seen in the earlier cases? No, it does not. And that affects the formation of products. So in the case of Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction, we find that we are only getting the monohalogenated products. We do not get the tri-substituted products. In fact, the yield of these alkylated products is also very less. So we have OH and CH3. Help me name these products. By the way, I hope you are all noting this down, because when you are not on YouTube, you will need something to revise, right? And you don't want to spend a long time watching a video in order to revise a concept. So write it in your own handwriting and you will see the magic happening, the magic of learning. So did you name the product? So this will be our position number 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, who gets precedence? Who gets the honor of being the principal functional group? ROH. So we've got, I didn't mean ROH. What I meant was OH, right? So with the result, we will have 4-methyl phenol. And what will be the name of the second product? Go ahead. So 1, 2. Well done. 2-methyl phenol. What will be the alternative name for this? Para-methyl phenol, right? In fact, this product is also known as paracresol in the common system. So what will be the name of the other product? Orthocresol, right? Don't forget the reaction conditions, anhydrous AlCl3. So if we actually want this reaction to proceed in a good proportion or to give us a larger amount of the product, we will have to take a catalyst which is not an electron acceptor, right? Also tell me which of these will be the major product, the para or the ortho? Well done, para. The distance, you see, they have their own space. There is less steric hindrance. There is less repulsion in this case as compared to in the second one, the 2-methyl phenol or the ortho-methyl phenol. For this very reason, you will see that in the flow chart, I have not mentioned Friedel-Crafts acylation because this reaction does not give us any product, or what you can say is practically zero, very poor yield. One, of course, our anhydrous AlCl3 forms a compound, forms a complex with the phenol that we've done just now, right? Also, if you recall, we know that phenols, on the other hand, react with acetic anhydride and undergo what type of reaction? Remember, acylation. Very well done. So, OCOCH3. We have already discussed this under the properties involving the breaking of the OH group. This video is already covered. It's already there on the channel. So what we can say here is, of course, our Friedel-Crafts acylation, that doesn't take place. Now I've got this product over here. What do? I want to go to the acylated product. So what I want is, I want my phenol, but I also want the keto group. Yes, this is a keto group. You see, C double bond O CH3. And this is attached to the ring carbon. Yes, it's a ketonic group. So I want the ketonic group in my benzene ring for various reasons. So how do I go about it? Okay, Fries gave us a very interesting way out, and he said you heat it with anhydrous AlCl3. And so oxygen is happy to let go of the COCH3 group, and this is now called the Fries rearrangement. We are not going into the details of the mechanism. I am just helping you to keep it simple and able to recall. So what has happened over here? The hydrogen from the benzene ring, OH, and they have swapped places. So COCH3 becomes attached to the ortho, and of course our favorite, para position. Now comes the question. So what is this arrangement known as? This is known as Fries rearrangement. That means rearrangement within the molecule. We are not introducing any new atom or group. Simply the atoms are rearranging themselves within the molecule. And which one is our Fries rearrangement? phenol being treated with acetic anhydride followed by heating with anhydrous AlCl3. This entire set of reactions, oh look at the maze that we formed, is known as the Fries rearrangement. Now what are you going to do for me? You are going to name these products. I told you that this is a ketonic group and this is an OH group. Now think, who's going to get preference when you name this compound? So what I've done for you is I have compiled, streamlined the things, that was too much of a maze. So Friedel-Crafts acylation, not possible. How do we introduce acyl group into the benzene ring? Possible by using what we call as the Fries rearrangement. Please feel free to take down these notes for future reference. So this is our Fries rearrangement. We first treat it with acetic anhydride followed by heating with anhydrous AlCl3 and we get two products. Now my question to you was, how are you going to name this? Obviously you wouldn't know the common name, which is actually orthohydroxy, since the two are ortho with respect to each other. So orthohydroxy acetophenone, because it's C6H5COCH3. This is our C6H5COCH3. This is acetophenone, right? Acetyl group attached to the benzene ring. If you name it properly according to the IUPAC system, that is when I said, remember that this is a ketonic group. So how am I going to number it? 1, 2. So now with respect to 1, I have the phenyl group over here, right? So this is the phenyl group, and at the second position of this phenyl group, so I have 1 and 2. At the second position of this phenyl group, I have the hydroxy group. Hence, on the first carbon, I have phenyl, and to that phenyl, there's an OH group. So 2 hydroxyphenyl, and this is all at carbon number 1. 2 carbon atoms in the main chain. So eth, saturated say ane, and a ketone. So ethanone. Although you will be coming across the orthohydroxyacetophenone more commonly as compared to the second name, because as I mentioned earlier, in the case of aromatic compounds, quite a lot of compounds are popularly known more by their common names than by their IUPAC names, right? So let us put a tick on what all we've done so far. Yes, we've done nitration, we've done halogenation, Friedel-Crafts alkylation, Fries rearrangement, sulfonation done. We are now left with two very, very important reactions, the Kolbe's reaction and the Reimer-Tiemann reaction. And we are going to continue with that in the next video. Time for a little snack break so that you can remain fresh and happy and continue with your learning journey. See you in the next video.